Hello everybody and welcome to the Ultimate Survival Guide for Minecraft 120. In this video I'll be going over all of the survival relevant features for the Trails and Tales update, aka Minecraft 120. If you're new to Minecraft or just a returning player, we do have Ultimate Survival Guides going all the way back to Minecraft 1.8, so check those out if you're interested. But without further ado, let's get into the video. This Ultimate Survival Guide is broken into 5 different sections for your viewing convenience, and the first section is new blocks, covering all the new blocks in the update. The second section is new items. Third section will be about mobs and mob changes. Fourth section will be changes to world generation, and finally the fifth section, everyone's favorite, the Miscellaneous section. So you can click on the timestamps in the description to go to your desired section now, or just wait, and let's do it. First block we're taking a look at today is the block of bamboo. Looks like this, and you can place it in different orientations, similar to how you can orient logs differently. So looks like that. Now the bamboo block is crafted using 9 bamboo in the crafting table like this. That gets you your bamboo block. Now the block of bamboo, if you put it into the crafting table itself, it actually gives you bamboo planks, but note that you only get 2 bamboo planks rather than the typical 4 you get from, let's say, a wood log, for instance. So that is a little bit of a difference there with bamboo planks compared to normal planks. And then with your bamboo planks, you can make all sorts of stuff. You can make slabs, you can make stairs, you can make pressure plates, you can make buttons, you can make doors, fences, fence gates, all have the same recipe. So you can see doors, slabs, fences, fence gates, stairs. There's trapdoors as well, pressure plates, of course, and buttons. There's also signs, bamboo signs, as well as some hanging signs, bamboo hanging signs. And to make those, it's a little bit different. First of all, you need to strip your bamboo. So just do that by right-clicking with an axe. So you strip your bamboo. Gather these blocks up, and once you have your stripped blocks of bamboo, you need 2 chains. And you place 2 chains and 6 stripped blocks of bamboo. Gets you your hanging bamboo sign, which you can place on the side of blocks like that. And yeah, add whatever text you want, of course. So those are the bamboo blocks, but there are also other bamboo blocks, namely the bamboo mosaic blocks. So bamboo mosaic blocks are kind of unique block to bamboo. They're made by placing 2 bamboo slabs in the crafting table like so. And then once you get these bamboo mosaics, there are a couple of different things to know about them. Namely, they have a unique texture for bamboo. Plus, if we come down here, you can make bamboo mosaic stairs, which of course have the same texture, but yeah, they're just stair varieties right there. And there's also the unique block, the bamboo mosaic slab. So sort of a unique secondary set of bamboo mosaic blocks here, but these are kind of unique to the bamboo set. Next block we're taking a look at is the cherry log block. Looks like this and can be placed in all sorts of different orientations as it is a log. Cherry logs can be found in cherry trees or part of cherry trees, the stem here, which you can chop down with an axe. Of course, the cherry tree itself also has other blocks, like these cherry leaves, which is a new leaf type right here. And these cherry leaves are unique because they have particles that are emitted beneath them, and they sort of rain down some petals, some pink petals on the ground below. Also, when they decay, they drop this item, the cherry sapling, which if we plant it over here and use some bone meal, can grow eventually into a cherry tree. Brand new one right there. The logs also can be used for other things. So for instance, if we come over here, we can turn these cherry logs into cherry wood, like so. Of course, you can strip the logs too to make some stripped cherry logs, and then those logs can then be turned into stripped cherry wood as well. Plus, any of these logs or stripped logs can be turned into cherry planks, and that can then be used to make cherry slabs, cherry stairs, cherry buttons, and you can see all the variety of different cherry things over here. So stairs, slabs, fences, there's fence gate, there's doors, there's trapdoors, there's pressure plates, there's buttons, there's signs, and there's also boats and cherry boat with chest. Next new block we're taking a look at is the calibrated skulk sensor, which looks like this. You craft up the calibrated skulk sensor with a skulk sensor and 3 amethyst shards just like that in the crafting table. Now the calibrated skulk sensor is different from the regular skulk sensor in a number of important ways. First of all, it has a much larger detection range. So if I come out here, for instance, you'll see, yeah, still detects me, but the regular one does not. So the detection range is 16 blocks rather than the 8 blocks of the regular skulk sensor. Also, it has a faster response time. So if I walk forward here to where both of these see me at the same time, like this, you'll see this one turns off way before this one and is ready to receive a signal faster. There you see it again right there. Probably the most important thing about the calibrated skulk sensor is that it can be calibrated to detect only certain frequencies. The way you do that is by putting a redstone signal into the side of the calibrated skulk sensor that has this amethyst streak. So here, for instance, I have a composter filled to level 5, so a signal strength of 5 is going into this side of the calibrated skulk sensor, which means it will only detect if a mob is being dismounted or I'm equipping gear. So I can jump up and down, I can walk around, and this thing is not being activated. I can drop something on the ground here. I can place a block and break a block. Around, it doesn't detect anything unless, let's say I equip something. Boom, it detects it. If I equip this thing, boom, it detects it. So that is a very, very useful property of the calibrated skulk sensor. One important thing to remember about the calibrated skulk sensor is that you can't really break it with your fist. It just drops experience if you do. So make sure you're using a tool with silk touch on it, and that will allow you to harvest it and get it back as an item. Next up, let's take a look at the chiseled bookshelf, which looks like this. So the chiseled bookshelf actually starts out empty, but it's kind of a cool block because it has some functionality and some uses you need to be aware of. So first of all, the crafting recipe, different from the normal bookshelf. It requires 6 planks and 3 slabs. These can be any type of planks and any type of slabs, except it cannot be bamboo mosaic slabs for whatever reason. So don't use those. Those do not work. Just use regular wood slabs and regular planks of any type, and that will get you your chiseled bookshelf. When you place it down, the chiseled bookshelf is by default empty, but you can add books to it by simply right-clicking on the chiseled bookshelf with your book, and that will put a book in the slot that you want. I'm going to switch to survival mode here just so you can see. If I want it to go into this slot down here, I just click on that slot. If I want to move it, I right-click again, and then move it to a new slot by right-clicking. So pretty straightforward there. Now, the interesting thing about these chisel bookshelves is that the chisel bookshelf can be used with redstone components, namely comparators, and also with things like droppers. So let's say I take this out here, hit the button. You'll see the book that wasn't here is now in the bookshelf. So that's kind of a cool thing. And also the comparator, if you use a comparator with a chisel bookshelf, let me just quickly clear a spot here. The last slot you interact with will be the signal strength that the comparator outputs. So if I interact with the 1, 2, 3rd slot, this will give a signal strength of 3. So if I take this one out, bam, there we go. You can see we got the channeling book, and yeah, 3 signal strength. The 4th lamp is on because, yeah, this is weakly powered, but yeah, it gives out a signal strength of 3. If I wanted to go to 6, I put it down here. If I take out this book, it goes back down to 1 since I did the first slot there. And then if I, let's say, wanted to go to 5, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So yeah, that's how you can sort of make secret doors and entrances using bookshelf. And yeah, whatever book you put in here will come out from the same slot you put it in just by right-clicking. Also, in addition to the dropper, this thing can also work with hoppers. So let's say I just get out a hopper here, and we put hopper going into the back of this like so, and then I take out a book. Let's put it in here. You'll see it went into the first slot, and that means that we have a signal strength of 1 now reading out of the bookshelf since it went into the first slot. If I do this again, it'll be at 2 since the book went into the hopper and then into the bookshelf, and yeah, there it is at 2. So that's kind of a cool thing. Really interesting block, chisel bookshelf. Next up, we have the decorated pot, which looks like this. So this one is the decorated pot. Important thing to note about this is that the lip on top of this is not a real lip. You can actually walk right through it, and you can place the pots directly on top of one another, and that lip sort of disappears. Now, these are technically the undecorated decorated pots, but the way you craft these is with 4 bricks in a configuration like that. That gets you your standard decorated pot with no actual decoration on it. Now, the way you decorate these is instead of having 4 bricks, you replace the bricks with what are called sherds. These are fragments, basically shards that are found in the world. And if I place one in here, you'll see that the decorated pot suddenly has a little bit more data associated with it. And if you place 1 sherd, then you have 1 side of your pot decorated. So here I have this side decorated, and all the other sides are blank. If you do 2, for instance, then let's just do these 2, and let's just do all 4 of these. There we go. If we do all 4 of these, then we have all 4 sides decorated. Obviously, you can do 3 or 2, depending on what you want, and you can also mix and match the different types of sherds. So let's say I do the snort, the miner, the angler, and the brewer. Then I'll have a decorated pot with a different design on each side. So that's pretty cool. One very important thing to remember about the decorated pots is that if you break them with a tool without silk touch, they will break into their component pieces. So you see here we got the 4 sherds back that are used to make the pot. But if you break them with a silk touch tool or with your hand, it actually drops the pot itself. So that is a pretty useful tip to keep in mind. I'll just note here that there are 20 different types of sherds, as you can see here. They're found in suspicious sand in various parts of the world. If you want to know more about where each sherd is found, check out the items section coming up later. Next block we're taking a look at are hanging signs. So hanging signs are kind of unique in that they can be placed on the underside of blocks like this, as well as on the side of blocks like so. But they cannot be placed on flat ground, so you can't place them just flat on the ground. However, when you place hanging signs, like we've done here, if you place the hanging sign like this, you type whatever, as long as you see this bar here, that means the hanging sign can float by itself without a supporting block. So if I remove this, you'll see that the sign remains floating despite nothing really supporting it. You can see it a little more clearly over here. If I get rid of this one, nothing is supporting it. However, if hanging signs are placed on the underside of blocks like this, and then the block that is supporting them is destroyed, they will drop as an item, like that. So that's kind of an important distinction. Also, in case you don't know, or in case you didn't see previously, hanging signs are crafted with stripped logs and 2 chains like this. And they must be logs, by the way. If you have wood, like here we have stripped acacia wood, it will not work. So it must be logs, or in the case of bamboo, for instance, stripped bamboo, blocks of stripped bamboo. So yeah, that's an important note. Another important thing to note is that if you have a block with central support, so like a fence or something, you can actually attach signs to that as well. So here we have like an iron bar and a fence. Those can be used to attach things. We can then attach signs to signs as well, just like this, to make different patterns and designs and things. However, if you then remove the supporting block, of course all the signs will break. But if you have something like this, and then a couple of signs underneath it, like so, let's say, then you can remove this supporting block and all the signs will stay, as you can see there. So yeah, as long as you see that bar, that means that the hanging signs are supported by themselves, and you can make really cool designs with these things. The final new blocks you might encounter in Minecraft 1.20 are Suspicious Sand and Suspicious Gravel. As you can see, Suspicious Sand and Suspicious Gravel have different texture from the normal varieties of those blocks, and that is to differentiate them because within these blocks you can use a brush to extract objects. Just by simply holding right click with the brush, you can see, yeah, it actually starts to pull objects out of the sand, and then it will revert to its previous texture if you stop brushing. These are not naturally generated, so there's no objects that will come out, but if you try to extract an object Once you're done extracting the object, the suspicious sand and suspicious gravel will turn back into the normal variety of those blocks. Now you cannot obtain these blocks in survival. If you try to mine them with the shovel or even a silk touch shovel, the suspicious varieties of these blocks will be destroyed. It's also the case that if you have one of these fall, it just breaks. And the same with the sand. So be very careful around these and use your brush if you see these suspicious gravels or these suspicious sands anywhere in your world. Next up, we're talking about new items. First thing we're going to talk about is the brush. It looks like this right here. And the way you craft up the brush is you basically have a stick, a piece of copper, and a feather like that. And that gets you your brush. And the brush can be used to brush suspicious sand and suspicious gravel and extract items from them. So I'm here in the warm ocean area, and you can see we have some suspicious sand here. So if I start to brush this, you'll see an item starts to come out. In this case, it looks like coal. Yep, it's coal. And so then I can, get that coal block or that coal item, and it goes into my inventory. Then I'll try another one, see if we can get lucky with a sherd here or not. Nope, looks like a gold nugget. So you don't always get sherds. There's a certain percentage chance. It's usually between about 8 and 12% chance that you get a sherd. But in this specific case, in the warm ocean monument, which is where we're at now, you can get 3 different types of sherds. You can also sometimes get tools like this. So we got an iron axe there, looks like. But in this case, we can actually get a couple of different things. So we can get the angler pottery sherd, which looks like this. So it's a little fishing rod. You can get the shelter pottery sherd, which is a little shelter, looks like a tree almost. And then you can get the snort pottery sherd, which is basically a turtle in the warm ocean area. Next up, we have the pottery sherds that can be found in suspicious gravel, like this block right here, in the cold ocean ruins areas. This one looks like it just so happens to be a wood hoe, but you can find, on occasion, blade pottery sherds, which is like a sword. We have the explorer pottery sherd, which looks sort of like a map, mourner pottery sherd, which looks sort of like a warden, and then the plenty pottery sherd, which looks like a chest. So those are the 4 you can find in the cold ocean ruins areas. Next up, there are 4 pottery shards that can be found in desert temples. Now, the way you look for these is there is a offset room that has suspicious sand and regular sand just to the side of the central main area where you find the TNT room down below. And you can just basically brush the sand here. Here, of course, we have, looks like a diamond, which is kind of nice. Yeah, very good. And yeah, if you break in here, you may find more suspicious sand in this small room down here. Just be careful you don't break it when you're digging in. But the sherds you can find the archery pottery shards, which has a bow. You can find the skull pottery shard, which has a skull. The prize pottery shard, which shows like a gem. And then we have the minor pottery shard, which has a pickaxe on there. So those 4 can be found in suspicious sand near the desert temple. Next up, we have sherds found in suspicious sands near desert wells. Now, you might be saying, desert wells, is that a new structure? No, this is an old structure, but it has been updated now with suspicious sand. Particularly, you want to check on the inside of the well in this area for this sand being suspicious. In this case, that is not the case, but in some wells it can be. Since there's not a whole lot of suspicious sand around desert wells, the sherds are actually more common than normal. They're about twice as common as every other type of sherd per suspicious sand block. And the types of sherds you can get are the arms up sherd right here, as well as the brewery sherd right here with the little potion shape. So those are the 2 sherds you can find in suspicious sands near desert wells. Finally, at the new structure in Minecraft 120, Trail Ruins, you can find 7 sherds. They are the Burn Pottery Sherd, Danger Sherd, Friend Sherd, Heart Sherd, Heartbreak Sherd, Howl Sherd, and Sheaf Sherd right here. And the way you find these is you need to find one of the trail ruins, which this is a trail ruin here, and then you need to like dig through the structure looking for any suspicious gravel like this. So here's one right here. Let's see if we get lucky. Nope, it is just a piece of string. But yeah, you have to look through this, and these things can go way, way down deep. They have a bunch of different block varieties and types that you can search through. You see terracotta, mud, dirt, glazed terracotta, and you have to search through a lot of blocks here to find suspicious gravel in these areas. So yeah, that's where this works. More on this in the world generation section. Not only can you find 7 different types of sherds in the Trail Ruins area, but you can also find a new music disc, namely Relic by Aaron Churoff. And you can find this by brushing suspicious gravel in these Trail Ruins. So these are kind of important. You can see how it's sort of a little bit dustier than other music discs, and it sounds like this. And in case you're wondering, this music disc outputs a signal strength of 14 via a comparator while it's playing. Next up, we have smithing templates, which you can see right here. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes, which we'll go over. But basically, these help you to both upgrade to netherite armor now, and also to trim your armor and give it cool new pattern designs that are aesthetic only. So if we right-click on the smithing table, the smithing table, as you see, has gotten a new interface. So basically, the interface goes like this. So you have a smithing template in the first slot. You have your thing to be upgraded or armor to be trimmed here. And then you have the material you're going to trim in the third slot. So let's say we're going to upgrade to netherite armor. So we need a netherite smithing table, which is this netherite upgrade smithing table, which can be found in Bastion Remnants. Then we put in a diamond piece of armor, and then a netherite ingot, and that gives us our netherite chestplate. So that's how you upgrade from diamond to netherite now. You must have the netherite upgrade, otherwise you cannot do it. Also, it's worth noting that if you have one of these netherite upgrade pieces, you can actually use a piece of netherrack plus 7 diamonds. And if we go in here, you can see 7 diamonds plus the smithing template plus the netherrack gets you another smithing template. So that's how you can get more if you only have one. And this is recommended to do this with all the trims, because all the trims you can get more of, but they are consumed in the smithing table. Now, let's say we wanted to add aesthetic trim. So let's go ahead and we're going to add in a silence armor trim with iron armor, and then we'll use, let's say, redstone dust. And you'll see it gives us a preview of what our armor will look like with this trim. If we didn't like that, we could change out the material. So now it looks like that, or maybe we could do emerald. You can also do amethyst or copper, things like that. And then to craft it, you just simply take it out of the crafting window right here, and there we have it. There's our new armor right there. And this comes in a variety of shapes and sizes. You can do it on pretty much any type of armor. So let's say we wanted redstone on our pants. There we go. Perfect. Just like that. And then let's say we wanted some diamond on our netherite. We can do that too. There we go. Amazing. So that is nether trim. And now we're going to go over all the smithing templates. So there are 16 in total, plus the smithing template for the netherite upgrade. So let's go over those, how to make those, and also where they're found right now. First up with the smithing templates, the netherite upgrade smithing template. This allows you to upgrade things from diamond to netherite, and the way to find this is in bastion chests, like this one right here. Here is one such netherite upgrade. Now, in the treasure chest at the bottom of Treasure Bastion, you'll always find a netherite upgrade smithing template in here. There's a 100% chance, but in other chests around the bastion, it's not always guaranteed. But here it is. To get more upgrades, you simply place your netherite upgrade smithing template in the crafting table, surround it with 7 diamonds, and then a netherrack in the middle. That gets you your netherite smithing upgrade, and the armor looks like this. There's also a unique armor trim found in Bastion Remnants, namely the Snout armor trim. The Snout armor trim looks like this right here. And the way you craft another one is the trim. You need a piece of blackstone, and then of course 7 diamonds, just like that. Next we have the Coast armor trim, which looks like this. Of course, being Coast armor trim, it's found in shipwrecks, obviously near the coast. It looks like this when you put it on netherite with gold, and you can of course use any other mineral, but if you want to make another template, you need the template itself plus a cobblestone plus 7 diamonds, which gets you your second Coast armor trim. Next up, Dune armor trim. Dune armor trim is found in desert pyramids, and you can find these in the chests at the bottom near the TNT. It looks like this when you put gold on netherite with it, and then to get another Dune armor trim, you need the template, you need a piece of sandstone, and 7 diamonds gets you another Dune armor trim. Next up, we have Eye armor trim, which is found in strongholds. Here is the trim itself right here. And this is actually found 100% of the time in library chests in strongholds. So if we have another library chest like this one, it's guaranteed to have an eye armor trim in it. Also, the armor looks like this with a little eye on it. So that's kind of cool. And to get another one of these, you actually need the template, an endstone, as well as some diamonds like that, and that gets you a second eye armor trim. Next up, the rib armor template, which looks like this. This is what it looks like with gold on netherite, and this can be found in the fortresses of the nether, in the chests. It's 6% chance for each chest, and the way you get more is the template, netherrack, 7 diamonds gets you your rib armor trim. Next up, we're taking a look at the Sentry armor template. Looks like this, and you can occasionally find this in the Pillager Outpost chest at the top of a Pillager Outpost. So there's a 25% chance for it to be in this chest. Unfortunately, this one was not lucky, but this is what the Sentry armor looks like when you put gold on netherite. And to get another one of these, you take your template, your cobblestone, and then of course the 7 diamonds, and that gets you your second Sentry armor trim smithing template. Next up, we have the Silence armor trim, which looks like this, and this is found in chests in the ancient city at a very low percent chance per chest, so you may need to check a bunch of chests to find this type of armor, but this is what it looks like once you put gold on netherite right here. And to get another one of these, you put your template in with cobbled deep slate this time, and then 7 diamonds around like that gets you another Silence armor trim. Also in the ancient city, there's another armor trim, the Ward armor trim right here. Looks kind of like a face on the smithing template, but if we grab this, we can see what the armor looks like here when we apply gold to netherite. And if we go ahead and put the Ward armor trim in the crafting table with a piece of cobbled deep slate, surround that with diamonds, that gets us another Ward armor trim. This one is also a little bit more common than the other one, but still pretty rare. So you might have to check a lot of chests here in the ancient city to find it. Next up, the Vex armor trim. It's found inside of woodland mansions in chests, and it looks like this. Vex armor trim, when you put it gold on netherite, looks like this in appearance. And in order to make another one, you put the template into a crafting bench with cobblestone, surround it with diamonds, and there you go. That is your Vex armor trim. Next, the Wild armor trim is found in chests in jungle temples, as you can see right here. And this is what it looks like when it's put gold on netherite. Finally, to make a new Wild armor trim, you want to put the Wild armor trim with a mossy cobblestone and then diamonds around that. And there you have it, the Wild armor trim. In the end cities, there's a armor trim called the Spire armor trim. You can find this in end city chests, and it looks like this with the purple type of coloring. To get another one of these, you use the template plus purple block plus diamonds all around, and that gets you your Spire armor trims, which also look like this with gold on netherite. Another new armor trim can be found if you slay an Elder Guardian. You'll see it now drops a smithing template, which is the Tide armor trim, in addition to some Prismarine shards. And so if we then put that on armor, it looks like this. And of course, to get another one of these smithing templates, it's just smithing template plus Prismarine, and the diamonds around gives you the Tide armor. And of course, the Elder Guardians themselves are of course found within the confines of the ocean monuments here. The final 4 armor trim templates that exist are all found within the Trail Ruins structure. Namely, they're found within Suspicious Gravel, which you then have to brush and extract the smithing template from. And the smithing template types are Wayfinder smithing template. Then we have the Shaper armor trim smithing template, Host, and then Razor right here. And again, these are all found by brushing Suspicious Gravel and extracting these templates. Then if you have these templates and you want to make more, it's the template plus terracotta plus diamonds around for all of these, as you can see. Another new item in this update is the pink petal item, which looks like this. This is found on the ground in cherry grove biomes underneath the cherry blossom trees. And so basically the way you get these, you punch the pink petals and they pop right off. You can also get more of them in the cherry grove biome by bone mealing the ground. You can see that produced a little bit of pink petals. And to get more in the same block, you can just bone meal the block itself and then punch to get rid of it. And so these are actually directional. You'll notice that whenever I'm looking at a block, the first petal is always placed in the lower right hand quadrant. So this quadrant right here, followed by the upper right hand quadrant, then the upper left hand, then the lower left hand. So like that. So yeah, it's the same for every block, no matter which direction you're facing. So the placement is kind of important if you want a certain aesthetic. So like, let's say we didn't want these 2 big petals next to each other. I can break this, turn this way, and now they're not next to each other. So that's kind of a cool thing. Also, you can plant these on other blocks, like let's say coarse dirt and other dirt varieties, as well as things like moss, for instance. That also works, and yeah, bone meal works on those things as well. Plus, you can use the pink petals to craft up pink dye. So that's another useful thing with these pink petals in addition to their aesthetic value. There are 2 new types of boats in the game this update. There is the cherry boat, which you can see here, and the bamboo raft, which you can see here. The crafting recipes for these are as you would expect. So bamboo planks make up the bamboo raft, and then for the cherry boat, just cherry planks, and that gets you your cherry boat. And then just add a chest to those things to get the boats with chest. And they ride exactly the same as you would expect them to. Just that they look a little bit different than some of the other boats. Now on to new mobs, and one of those new mobs is the Camel, which you can see right here. Camel is a rideable entity, which can be ridden by 2 players. If I ride the Camel here, you can see you can put a saddle right on it, and it raises slowly up just like so. You can then ride the Camel around like this. The Camels have 16 hearts of health, which is pretty decent. And yeah, they can sprint as well. And they also have a dash ability, similar to the horse's jump ability, which can basically propel the camel like 10 blocks forward, or up to 10 blocks forward if you do it perfectly. Another cool thing about the camel, we hop on off here, camel is actually attracted to cactus. So if we have cactus in our hand, the camel will follow us around, and you can breed camels with cacti, so you can see there by right-clicking. Camels also have some other unique abilities, namely if you ride them over fences and walls, they run right over 1.5 block tall obstacles. Camels are also extremely tall mobs, so as you can see here, we have some husks heading toward us, and the husks can't touch us because we're too high up. Same with the baby zombies, and basically any too tall mob will not be able to affect you and be able to hit you if you're riding on a camel. Of course, this doesn't apply to things like skeletons, which can still shoot you, and also spiders can jump and hit you on occasion. One other thing about camels is that they will sometimes randomly sit down, as you see like this. And when that happens, it's tough to get them to stand back up. They take a little bit of time to stand back up. So that may be time that you can't afford. So just be aware of that in case you have to escape quickly on a camel. That can sometimes take a little time for them to stand up. Next up, we have a new item, although it can be placed and interacted with in the world, and that is the Sniffer egg. Now, this is the only way you can actually get Sniffer eggs, is by brushing them out of suspicious sand in warm ocean ruin areas. So here we have a Sniffer egg. Let's talk about this. So the Sniffer egg looks like this when you right-click and place it down in the world. It is like a block, a proper block you can stand on. You can jump on it. You don't have to worry about breaking it. In fact, if you are in survival, you can actually mine it with just your hand. Straight up like that. Some other interesting things about the Sniffer egg is that it takes about 20 minutes to hatch. That is, unless you put it on moss. So if I place a moss block down here, you'll see it also has particles to indicate that it will actually hatch a little faster when it is on a moss block. So yeah, keep that in mind. Also, if you have a piston, let's go ahead and get a piston out. Piston, piston, piston. There we go, piston. And then you have a lever. You can actually push Sniffer blocks with a piston. So that's kind of cool. And if we have a sticky piston here, we can also reach out and grab it and push it and grab it and push it, etc. You get the idea. One other thing about Sniffer eggs is that there are 3 phases of cracking. There's not cracked at all, slightly cracked, and heavily cracked, which this one is about to hatch a small sniffer, aka a snifflet. So we'll see that soon, but yeah, there's 3 different stages the egg goes through, so you can tell how close it is to hatching. Alright, and there we go. Once the sniffer hatches, you'll see a little baby snifflet comes out. This is the baby version of the sniffer. And an interesting thing about the snifflets is that they actually take 40 minutes in-game. So 2 full in-game days to grow up into an adult sniffer. But once they do, they look like this and are a little bit bigger. And the sniffer basically is how you get certain plants in the game, which are also new items. So we'll see this guy sniff around a bit, see if we can get him to dig up some ancient seeds for us, because there are some new plants that you can get from these sniffers. If a sniffer finds ancient seeds, they'll plop themselves down as you just saw, and yep, there we go. Dug out a torchflower seed, which is one of the 2 plants you can get. So sniffers, as I said, can dig up these torchflower seeds or pitcher pods, which are a different type of plants. And you can also breed up the sniffers by right-clicking them with some torchflower seeds. That will produce a sniffer egg, but unlike turtle eggs, for instance, the sniffers don't plant the egg themselves. You'll see the egg just drops as an item between the 2 sniffers, and then the player has to come and manually put it down themselves. You can also see that sniffers are indeed attracted to torchflower seeds, and if I move around here, they will follow me wherever I go with this thing. Some other interesting things about sniffers is that they can only dig for seeds and pods in a couple different types of blocks, namely grass blocks, dirt blocks of all types, moss blocks, mud, and muddy mangrove roots. And here we go. Let's see what we got. Anything good? Maybe a pod? Yes, a pod. So this pitcher pod is the other item that sniffers can dig up. You'll see they're not attracted to the pitcher pod plant, but they can dig it up. And once they've dug up a torchflower seed or a pitcher pod, they will have to wait 8 minutes before they can dig up another seed or pod again. So it's kind of a slow process with these sniffers digging out things, and they need a kind of a big area as well. But that's the process for that. So what else can we do with these plants that we got from the sniffer? Well, you can actually feed the torchflower seeds to the sniffer right here. You get the advancement little sniffs, feed a snifflet. So this will help the Snifflet to grow up a little bit quicker. If you keep feeding it, of course, it will grow up even faster. You can actually plant both of these down on some farmland. So if I go ahead and plant this down here, and plant the pitcher pod down here, you can see the first growth stage of each here. Now, if I were to, let's say, try to harvest these at this stage, we just get the seed and the pitcher pod back. But if I grow these up, you'll see that the torch flower seeds will actually grow up into a torch flower plant, which then if I punch that, that gives me the actual torch flower. And then the pitcher pod, if I grow this up, this has several more growth stages. So there's 3, 4, 5 full growth stages to get this to the full plant. And I can punch this, and this gives me the pitcher plant. And so then we can put both these down if we so desire. And yeah, they form nice aesthetic plants. But there are also other uses. Let me just get a few of these back. So first of all, the torch flower plant, this thing can actually be used to make orange dye, whereas the pitcher plant can be used to make cyan dye, and you get 2 of those since it's a 2 tall plant, as you can see here. Now, we can also use the torch flower plant. If I just switch here, we can make the torch flower plant into a suspicious stew by adding it to a bowl and the 2 mushrooms. So this gives us suspicious stew, and if we eat this, you'll see this actually gives you night vision for 5 seconds. So that's an interesting use of the torch flower. But the torch flower can also be used as a potted plant, like so, which you cannot do for the pitcher plant. That doesn't go into the flower pot. Torch flower can also be used to breed up bees, as you can see right here. There we go. And if we have these torch flowers down, the bees can use them as sites to pollinate as well. Finally, if we have a villager here, the villager will actually be able to pick up torch flower seeds that are dropped on the ground, and also pitcher pod seeds. And the villager will also plant both of those seeds, which we should see momentarily here. Yep, there we go. So he planted the torch flower plant and the pitcher pod. Nice. There were some other changes to mobs in this update that you need to be aware of. One of which is that piglins, when killed by charged creepers, will now drop their head. So you can see we have a nice little piglin head here. This piglin head will then start flapping its ears when you power it with a redstone signal, or if you wear it on your head and you start to walk around, you can wear the piglin head and have your ears flop as you're walking. Now let's talk about new world generation. First of all, there is a new biome in Minecraft 120. That is the Cherry Grove biome, as you can see right here. It's characterized by cherry trees, which have cherry logs and cherry leaves. And also there are pink petals, which cover the ground in the biome. Plus there's an atmospheric effect from the cherry leaves, with the particles floating pink petals down to the ground in the Cherry Grove biome. Now, the Cherry Grove biome does spawn primarily close to mountains, so it's similar to the meadow in that effect. Pigs, sheep, rabbits, and bees can all spawn there, as well as bee nests in the cherry trees. However, the biome is typically not very big. You can see this one is maybe 40 blocks across or so, and maybe, 15 blocks wide. So not a very big biome, and they're typically not too big. So you may have to search a little bit to find them, but it's a kind of nice atmospheric biome once you do. There's also a new structure in Minecraft 120 that is called Trail Ruins. This is the structure right here. You can see it's characterized by certain blocks like terracotta or mud bricks or gravel, and suspicious gravel in this case right here, sticking out of the ground. Trail ruins can be found in taigas, snowy taigas, old growth taigas, old growth birch forests, and jungles. And they usually have a couple of rooms inside, and a lot of them, the structure itself is actually underground. So let me clear out an area here and show you how big they can be. From the 10 or so blocks that were exposed on the surface of the trail ruin, you can see that the structure sort of goes downwards in a sort of like tower shape in this main structure here, and then sort of branches off into a path with rooms coming off that path, various types. And within these rooms, you can find, of course, regular gravel, but you can also find a bunch of suspicious gravel. Like there's a ton of suspicious gravel in this section right here, as well as various blocks like bricks and cobblestone and stone and glazed terracotta and mud and coarse dirt and various types of regular terracotta as well. So definitely bring your brush and explore these areas, because the suspicious gravel here is very, very valuable. There's multiple armor trims, multiple sherds, there's glass panes you can find, there's candles you can find, there's various tools and seeds you can find. You can even find like signs and things in here, as well as leads and string and stuff like that. So definitely explore and excavate and carefully dig out these trail ruins, because there is a lot to dig into here, literally. One minor change to world generation has to do with the desert temples, or desert pyramids as they're called in game. Now, in addition to the TNT room down here with the 4 chests, there's also a smaller room off to the side on the back left of the desert temple. So that's the front, so the back left is this way. Right here is a staircase, which is typically covered with sand like this, so you have to dig this out. There also might be suspicious sand, so you have to be careful. But if you walk down here, you can see after you clear the room out, it looks like this, and it's sort of inferred that it's a much older room that was maybe initially the desert pyramid central point, but has since been filled in with sand and suspicious sand. A couple of other minor world generation changes is that suspicious sand can now be found near desert wells. Namely, you can see in here, for instance, there's a suspicious sand right here, which is hiding out underneath of the water. There's also, if we break these, perhaps, more suspicious sand underneath here. So right there's a suspicious sand. And there might be some, nope, no other ones here, but these are definitely suspicious. So if I do this, I ended up getting suspicious too. And similar things have happened to both the warm and cold ocean ruins. So there's suspicious sand you can find in these places now in place of regular sand that you can grab items from, like for instance this sniffer egg. Now on to the miscellaneous changes in this update. Colored variants of beds, carpets, and wools can now all be dyed any other color. So if we wanted to change these to orange, all we have to do is pop into the crafting table with an orange dye like that, which is a nice quality of life change. Another interesting change has to do with the block of amethyst. Now a block of amethyst placed adjacent to a skulk sensor or a calibrated skulk sensor. If that skulk sensor receives a vibration, the block of amethyst will re-emit that frequency as a separate vibration at its location. So this basically allows you to send vibrations wirelessly from one skulk sensor to another. So you'll see here, if I drop this block on the ground, vibration is produced and the same vibration gets transmitted. If I break a block, let's say, see more lights lamp up. If I walk on the ground, see a smaller vibration gets transmitted. Whereas if I didn't have any of these, and it was just like this, you'll see that it doesn't get transmitted. So that's one way you can now transmit vibrations much more easy if you have blocks of amethyst to re-emit the vibration frequency next to skulk sensors or calibrated skulk sensors. So pretty cool. One small change in this update is that enchanting bonuses from bookshelves are no longer invalidated by things like grass or glow lichen or ferns, as you can see here. Mob heads can now be placed on top of note blocks without shifting, and when you click the note block with the mob head on top, it plays a random sound from that mob. And this includes all the different mob heads that are in the vanilla game. So if we put down some of these here, got the Ender Dragon. We got Piglins. Creepers. Zombies. And Wither Skeletons. By the way, this also applies to when the note block receives a redstone signal. There's been a lot of changes to the vibration frequencies of skulk sensors and when they're activated by various events that happen in the world. Skulk sensors will now also power the block they're sitting on strongly whenever they activate. Their timing has also changed a little bit. Skulk Shriekers will now no longer yell when they're waterlogged. You can now edit signs by simply right-clicking on them and then editing the sign as normal. You can also add text to the backside of signs like so. And this also applies to hanging signs, text that is glowing, and also text that is colored. You can have 2 different colors on each side of your sign. Finally, if you want to lock in the text on your sign, just simply right-click with the honeycomb, and then when you try to edit it by right-clicking, you can see it doesn't work on either side. As you can tell from the particles here, slimes and magma cubes are now both affected by jump boost effect. Walking on the very edge of a block will now always produce a step sound, which is significant as you used to be able to sneak up on people without making any sound by making sure you were primarily on the air block next to this block. Step sounds can now combine for blocks walked through and stepped on. So for instance, with carpets and snow, you will hear the topmost block played as normal, but the bottommost block will play at a lower volume and pitch. So listen closely. You can still hear the grass underneath the carpet. Whether or not the player experiences some effect is no longer based upon the block under the center of the player, but rather what block the player is touching and how the block interacts with the player. The most prominent examples of this are honey blocks and slime blocks. So if I shift to the very edge of the honey block and try to jump, we used to be able to jump here, but now, as you can see, we're still experiencing the honey effect because the very, very edge of our toe is still on the block itself. So that is a little bit of a change, especially for those of you who parkour. Also, that means that slime blocks, even if you jump on the edge of them, will no longer give you damage. So if I go here and then jump off, hitting the very edge of the slime block, you can see I still bounce on the edge of it, even though I'm technically over this air block here. So that should mean less damage from slime blocks where you hit the edge, which is huge for people who do parkour and other like movement-based activities. Riding an entity that has slow falling applied will now also affect not only the player but also the entity, allowing you to ride things like horses and pigs and stuff down from the heavens safely to the ground. Skulk sensors will now detect players walking even if they're on the edge of a block. You can no longer put a jack-o'-lantern on an armor stand or on your player head. Instead, this will now only work with carved pumpkins. There are 8 new advancements in this update, one of which is the power of books, which you get for reading a comparator out of a chiseled bookshelf. Another advancement is Smells Interesting, where you obtain a sniffer egg. Little Sniffs is an advancement that you get for feeding a snifflet. There's also the Planting the Past advancement for planting any sniffer seed. There are 2 different advancements regarding armor trims. One is to craft any armor with any trim at the smithing table. That one is called Crafting a New Look. The other armor trim advancement is significantly more involved and involves basically putting on all of these armor templates: the Snout, Rib, Spire, Tide, Silence, Ward, Wayfinder, and Vex templates on an armor piece at least once. So if we do this real quickly here, we'll just go like this and just keep changing up the armor trim like so. We should, there we go, get the Smithing with Style advancement, which is an advancement that also gives you XP. Brushing a pottery shard out of suspicious sand will give you the Respecting the Remnants advancement. Another advancement is to create a decorated pot out of 4 pottery shards, just like that. And that is the Careful Restoration advancement. The Nether Portal animation will no longer continue playing when a player passes through the Nether Portal and enters the Nether dimension. You can see it stopped, and I'm still inside the portal here. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Tales and Trails update, Minecraft 1.20. I hope you enjoyed this ultimate survival guide. If you did, please leave a like. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more great videos. Goodbye.